And welcome to the Quick and Dirty Romance Podcast. We're your hosts, romance authors and bicoastal best friends. I'm Sky McDonald, author of the Connecticut Commodore's steamy hockey romance series.
And I'm Sarah Smith, author of the Denver Bashers steamy hockey romance series and the new college hockey romance, Cocky Mother Pucker.
Together, we write as Sarah Sky, the best-selling duo behind the Unlikely Pairing series. We write hot books about complicated feelings, emotional risk, and really good sex.
Each episode, we pull back the curtain on what it's actually like to be contemporary romance authors. We talk writing desire, building tension, navigating publishing, and exactly how those infamous sex scenes come together on the page.
It's smart, honest, a little filthy, and wrapped up in 30 minutes or less. We respect your time, but we do aim to leave you breathless.
So before we get started, please take a second to tap those stars wherever you're listening. Ratings help more romance readers find us and trust us. We notice every single one.
Okay, so today's episode, we're going to discuss one of romance's most beloved walking red flags, billionaires. Okay? We're going to get into the fantasy versus the reality of it, how we feel about them on the page versus how we feel about them in real life. We may have some follow-up questions, but remember, this is all in fun. All right, so billionaire romances. Sarah, remind me, do you have a billionaire romance?
So I do not write billionaire romance. The romances I write, especially my hockey romances, the players, because they're professional players, they all are millionaires. Like it's not
Hmm.
explicitly stated in the text, like I am a millionaire because I play,
Hmm.
but like it's pretty implied that like, okay, they play hockey, they make a lot of money, they're millionaires. But no, I've never written a billionaire. I have written like a billionaire's daughter. Like she
Okay.
was the love interest of one of the hockey players on the team, but no, I've never written a billionaire. I've read a couple billionaire romances. I'm not the I shouldn't say I'm not a fan because I haven't read a lot, right? And I know that there are some great ones out there. But I just like other genres better. So I just tend to stick with those.
Okay.
Um, so you, Sky, you have written a billionaire romance, but it's not what you guys are thinking. If you're
Yep.
listening and you're thinking like, oh, Sky wrote the female Christian Grey, like she did it, she did not. I read it.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I liked it. Sorry, I thought
Oh,
I
thank
told you
you.
I liked it. Yeah.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
Sarah and I are both on such a publishing schedule that where we used to fangirl and read every single one of each other's books, not always anymore, but we're still each other's biggest cheerleaders for sure. Yeah, I did write a billionaire romance. I wrote a She's the Billionaire. Um, and I'm not going to give away any more than that other than it's just your type, but She's the Billionaire, but it is definitely not your traditional. She's actually kind of keeping that secret. I also have in What Happens at the Beach, he is an executive and his company has gone public. So Mans has a lot of money, but I don't specify because realistically, we would probably talking in the hundreds of millions, not the billion, but take it for what you will. He has enough money to live at the beach for a month in a villa. So definitely that. And then to your point, yeah, professional hockey players would be millionaires, almost all of them. Not all, but almost all. So yeah, there's never any concern about cash coming from the hockey players. And like even then, like the owner's daughter, like Audrey in book one, technically she would be from a lot of money because if you own a hockey team, you're not strapped. So yeah, wealth kind of plays in the background, but I really don't have a capital B billionaire traditional romance. I have certainly read a few. Um, I feel like Ember Casey did something with her Cunningham series. I'm pretty sure they were billionaires, and Ember is probably not listening, but if she is and I'm getting that wrong, I apologize. But I mean, my gateway to romance was 50 Shades. So that is like the most quintessential Playboy billionaire. And so, Sarah, you were saying you're not such a huge fan of it as a genre.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is, as we dive into what it is that people can't get enough of there? So,
Right. So I think my issues with it are some of the issues that I think a lot of people who don't read billionaire or who don't enjoy reading billionaire romance have. And that's, I think it's really hard to suspend disbelief sometimes, even when you're reading a fictional romance, because our real life examples of billionaires who do exist aren't, they're not good people. They're typically really crappy human beings who have done really terrible things in their life to get to where they are. And there's just like not, at least that's what I feel. And
Hmm.
that's when I've talked to other people, that's what they don't like about it. It's hard for them to to suspend that disbelief because literally everything in their real life points to the fact that like at least the billionaires that they're aware of, the ones that you hear about on the news aren't great people and they're doing horrible things. Or even if they're not like outright doing horrible things, they're just like existing and just being very like oblivious to what everybody else in the world is going through. I will say I have read billionaire romances where they like the billionaire eventually like becomes like a philanthropist or like they donate a lot of their money or like they do a lot of kind things and they don't do those like horrible things that like real life ones do. But yeah, it's also like I don't know. It's kind of it can be kind of hard, I think, for a lot of people to relate to wanting to be with a person who in their real life they only ever see like examples of bad people who are this to them. And although, I mean, in a perfect world, wouldn't it be great if there were such a thing as like an ethical billionaire and he's really hot and he just like comes in and like wines and dines you. Like that would be amazing, right? But like that, I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know if that have ever happening. Like, I don't know.
It's interesting because like I don't necessarily think of billionaires as bad people. I think of them as people who have worked incredibly hard to get where they are. It is very uncommon to be born a billionaire. And also, they do very often have pretty serious, either philanthropic or innovative, like backing innovative things. Like even probably one of the most famous, Jeff Bezos, is doing all kinds of things in terms of like space and, I mean, philanthropy, like out the yang. But yes, we tend to hear about sort of the ruthlessness and the, um, what do I want to say? The like empire building, right? The empire building. So I
And
think, yes,
sorry, and just to acknowledge, like in recent news, I think we can all think of a couple billionaires who were terrible effing people. And and I can see how that can taint somebody to make them not want to read that because and I'm not gonna say his name, I'm not gonna say anyone else, but like I can understand why people don't want to read about a group of people who in recent news have been just some of the worst people you
some
can
of the
imagine.
worst, most
Yeah,
exploitive.
right. Just like
Yeah.
abusive,
Yeah.
psychotic, sadistic. So I understand that. I understand that. Um,
Well,
but
and
yeah,
it's
I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
it's interesting because one, there are not actually that many billionaires, right?
Right.
Like
But in the romance world, there's
in the
like
romance world,
50%.
they're
There's
on
like half the
ranches,
people.
they're in the woods chopping, logs. They're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
In the real world, there are not that many, and certainly in the United States, there are not that many capital B billionaires, right? There aren't that many hundreds of millionaires, but to achieve the B status is quite a thing. So you you first of all, yes, exactly. Like in romance, they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, in your drugstore, on the street, like they're everywhere, waiting to whisk you away, which is part of the fun fantasy. And as we said many times, I think one of the best parts about the billionaire in romance is that they open up the fantasy even more, right? Like private jets and whimsical trips and all kind anything. It's the Cinderella effect of like anything you want, we can have. Do you want to go make love on the beach in Tahiti? Let's go right now. We'll be there in the morning, right? Like there is no constraint to it. But it's interesting too, because we also have some pretty interesting examples in real life recently, yes, of terrible things, but also of women becoming achieving the billionaire status. Selena Gomez, for example, recently hit that mark, right?
Mhm.
Awesome. Um, Mackenzie, formerly Bezos, also one of the most wealthy people in the world. And what they do with their money is, of course, their business. But one thing that I think we overlook in romance as well, not only the sort of shadowy underbelly of power and the corruption that can come with it, but also what it takes to be that thing. You
Mhm.
have no concept of how hard people have to work. Like, yes, by the time you get to a certain point where you've sold your company and you're like, on a yacht most of the day, like, no. I mean, you're still going to work a lot because you're one of the most influential people and you're running, say, like a billion-dollar industry, right? But the amount of work that people do to become that thing is insane. So the idea that these billionaires in romance just have all this time to go do these things, they really don't, right? Like that would not be realistic either. But we very happily kind of set those red flags aside, right? So I think it's interesting the way you're bringing in the nefarious bit, right? The corruption of power. And indeed, power corrupts, but also the logistical unlikelihood that these billionaires would just be, at the local inn with their parents or whatever it is when we meet them, right? Like they're working, they're busy, they have many, many people who are asking many, many things of them. And hopefully they're not, abusing humans in
Mhm.
terrible ways, but some of
Mhm.
them are. So that's sad. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's an interesting like fantasy, and I definitely think it's fine. But I also think, there is this idea of the person in romance both has money and has time. And I think that that's a real, like, that's not realistic.
Right.
And
And I feel like that also is part of why people who enjoy reading billionaire romance like it though, because I don't think anybody wants to read about a random like regular business work day, right? Like that's not exciting and sexy. They want to think like this guy has a ton of money and he's
hmm
taking I don't know, he's taking me to Fiji
hmm
like on a Tuesday because like of course I don't know. And I'm like making that up. I didn't read that. I'm just like thinking of like ridiculous rich people things that I imagine they do because I'm a normal person and I am working on a Tuesday. Nobody's like offering to take me to Fiji on a Tuesday. But I think that's part of the fantasy and I think that's why I think a lot of people like Billionaire Romance is because like I think they take the fun parts of it
hmm
and make it into the story and make it into something palatable. Well, not just palatable, but like good. It makes you feel good because here's this man. Because usually, like historically in billionaire romance, the billionaire is the man. Here's this man who is, yeah, he's a billionaire, and maybe he's probably like a jerk, and maybe he's like a dick at work, and maybe like he doesn't talk to his family or whatever. Like he's a grump or he's like serious or whatever, but like he's soft for her. He goes out of his way for her. He learns what is important to her, and he does that. He makes sure that she's good and taken care of. But not only that, he like has a genuine love for her. And you see his soft side come out when he's with the female love interest. And I think there's a lot that's very appealing about that to
hmm
read. There's a lot that's very appealing to me about that as a woman. Like I feel like there was like a Pride and Prejudice meme, and it was like Mr. Darcy was like, nothing feels better than being loved by a man who hates everybody. So like, and that's not
Yes.
necessarily, but like there, I think that taps into the feeling of like you feel special. Like
hmm
this guy who doesn't care about anybody else, who like is ruthless in the corporate world and will do anything for a deal or whatever. Like he's a teddy bear for her. Or he will
hmm
like he'll go to the candy store and get her favorite gummy bears. Or I'm
hmm
just making up crap. Again, I'm not singling out any
No.
particular book. We're not here to like put any book on blast. Like if you love reading billionaire romances, this is awesome. I'm just trying to think of like cute things that like I have read that are like adjacent to that. Like just doing something because she loves it and it's important to her. And I think like billionaire or not, like that's a universal thing that I think readers love about romance is that when the mailman character or the love interest, he doesn't care what it is. He'll like do whatever it takes to make her happy
Hmm.
and make her feel safe and important and like she matters. And like I think that no matter the genre, that's one of the like evergreen like moments in a romance that make readers swoon. You know, because you want to feel that way. I think we all want to feel that way in our relationships and in our entertainment, which is why we read
Yeah.
romance. You know?
Yeah.
And also part of it too, where like if you're a regular person, money is always a concern. What, like even if you're financially stable, you still have to plan, you still have to budget, you still have to like do stuff. There's kind of something nice about like reading something and escape and be like, oh, like nobody here has to worry about
Yeah.
paying the bill. Like we're all just like money is just there and we're good. Like we don't have to think about like, fuck, I should probably bring my lunch tomorrow at work. Like I probably shouldn't go DoorDash that. You know what I mean? Like there's just like a fantasy element in that aspect too, which is fun.
Yeah, and I know that you have worked that into hockey. So it's interesting because as you were talking, what I was thinking is our billionaires are sort of like our grown-up or our modern day Prince Charming, right? In these
Yeah.
capacities, in these books, not in real life,
Yeah.
okay? But like in the books, like you said, it's just sort of whatever she wants and no constraints on that. And that is, I think, what we love about it, or what, readers love about it. But it is interesting because it's definitely the fairy tale prince, right?
Mhm.
Whatever full power. But it's interesting how suddenly, and I don't want to pivot the topic or make this too omnibus for one episode of Quick and Dirty, but like it's interesting how hockey players, especially for us, but also for fans, have become the new Prince Charmings, right? Like, and there is something interesting about that because they are financially um set, fine, comfortable, extremely comfortable, but they're also working very hard at something that you can tangibly understand and see, right? And that's an interesting kind of almost new version, emerging version of the Prince Charming, right? Because we've gone from, I'm not saying billionaires are gone, they're not in any way, but that for a while had its real moment, especially with Christian Grey on the scene, right? I remember in one part of those books, he buys her an Audi and just like delivers it to her house. And it's like, at some point, I get red flags about love bombing, right? Like, it's cool because it doesn't matter to him. He didn't even think about it. But at the same time, it's like, what do you want from me for this? Which is
Mhm.
kind of a thing. But it is interesting how right now hockey players are really having this moment of the Prince Charming where they're extremely hardworking and extremely like there's a virtuousness to your dedication to your team, right? But at the same time, you can also get your intended anything that they want, right? And I know that you and I both have used that in our series where like the girl is not from such an affluent situation, but goes out of his way to make sure she has like whatever she wants without making it weird, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, not in a gross predatory way. But I also think it's because it's part, like you said, it's part of like the escape and the fantasy of just wanting just wanting to be with someone, not necessarily a professional hockey player, not necessarily a billionaire, but just somebody like a guy who has his shit together,
Mm,
who has a job, first of all, because apparently that's a problem sometimes.
hmm.
Um, but like, yeah, like just a guy who is stable, financially secure, who isn't out here trying to like get anything out of you, who just genuinely cares about you, is attracted to you, and wants to do nice things for you because it turns him on and it makes him happy. And I think like, unfortunately, that's not the experience that a lot of women get in real life. Like, and then like whatever, like we're all on the struggle bus, right? We're all normal people, like we all have normal jobs. We all like none of, or at least nobody I am aware of in my life is like secretly wealthy, like just with this secret private jet. Something like we're all normal people who do normal things. And like thankfully, as I've gotten older, like typically you tend to have a little bit more financial stability like in your 30s and 40s than you did when you were like a teenager or 21. So you
Hmm.
like hopefully that's something that you can build on and like have later on or even now. But like as a woman who was most of my friends are women who date men, like not all guys are not saying that they need to be rich. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, be a gold digger, but like I think it is very telling when like most women I know are like doing really well. They're killing it. Like they have good jobs, they make a good living. They're good people, they're attractive. They're like if I were a guy, I'd want to be with you, but like the guys they're dating are just like not up to the
Hmm.
level in a lot of ways. So I think they're like I understand wanting to escape into a book like A Billionaire Romance where he has a crap ton of money. He's not like living in his grandma's basement because he's like smoking pot all day. And I'm not trying to like shame living with your family or like partaking in recreational drugs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like there are certain like stereotypes of like people who are kind of like deadbeats who don't have ambition and who aren't like catches when it comes to dating people. And like I feel like a lot of women have had to deal with that. So I get it why they want to like read a book where the guy's rich and hot and is attracted to you and will go out of his way to make you feel wanted and taken care of because that is not the experience that they get in real life. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, I do know what you mean.
Right?
I do
Yeah.
know what you mean. But I also, I have to say personally, I have been very fortunate to also know a relationship where somebody did want to take care of me. Not like, oh, I'll buy you a private jet, but like where it was important for me to feel cared for, you know?
Mhm.
And I think, and not just that, like, not just on paper, but like in actions, right?
Mhm.
Because very few, I mean, maybe not very few, but like it's far more common to be like, well, of course I care about you. Of course I want, but like that's the extent of it, right? Like I care about you, but I'm gonna stay in my basement and play video games, right? But I care about you. Of course I care about you, right? Like, but in practice, right? And I think that that's the billionaire appeal. Like in practice, he's gonna do whatever you want, right? He's gonna pay attention and he's gonna like wave the wand and get it, right? Just everything comes with a price, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's interesting if a billionaire romance can show that. And I don't know of one that can, although I'm sure there are many. But like, yeah, everything comes with, even if he's, as you were talking about like the executive and everything, I was actually thinking of the movie Pretty Woman because very safe to say it's a Roman Empire for me. No, not every day, but I love that movie. But like he is that exactly what you're describing. Ruthless, unapologetic, but like turns into a total teddy bear for her. Right? So it's always nice, but I would like to see. I wonder how many, and if listeners have Rex, where do we have the billionaire romance where he actually the other side, where he's like working his ass off and actually has no time for this, and he wants to, but he like can't get away, or he takes you on vacation, but he can't stop being on his laptop, right? Like, where is it that we see like I truly do want the best for you, but also I've got to be over here making the donuts? I don't know. Maybe we don't want to see that. Maybe we just want the magic wand and the pretty shoes. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I really just think that billionaire romance, even with all of its like even problems, quote unquote, with how it's rooted in reality or whatever. But like,
Mhm.
I really just think billionaire romance is an extreme fantasy representation of what a lot of women wish they had in their real lives when it comes to like dating and relationships. And that's just like a
Mhm.
financially stable man who truly cares about you, who remembers like your birthday and your favorite candy and like what's important to you and expresses that to you and also like does things for you and is thoughtful and is like kind and generous to you. Like, because I really just think that's really all it is. Like, because I don't, sadly, like I said, I don't think a lot of women get that in their day-to-day lives. I think for a lot of reasons, but like I just don't, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
guys are just small and like it sucks to have to deal with that. And I think like Um, like Scott, you and I are married, not to each other, to different to our husbands. And I know that we both love our husbands and they're both really good people who are like they have jobs. They're not total losers. Like they are kind people who like take care of us, not in like the billionaire romance way, but like in a relationship way. Like they're good people and we love them, but like that's not the experience that a lot of women have,
No,
sadly. And I that's part of the reason why people escape in billionaire romance because you just want a guy who like has his shit together, who
yeah.
loves you, who rocks your world in bed, and who remembers what your favorite movie is. And like, like it's really just that simple, I
I
think.
really feel like it's not too much to ask.
Oh, yeah. Go make a lot
So,
of money, guys. Come on. Yeah.
yeah,
Kidding. Obviously, joking.
just pay attention to your lady, you
Yeah.
know? Pay
Yeah.
attention.
But get a job if you
Pay
can do
attention. We've turned into marriage therapists suddenly.
that. Right.
But no, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that that is really the heart and the theme behind the billionaire romance and why it is an evergreen subgenre for romance. It is the entire package, right? It's the whole package.
Yeah.
And speaking of packages, this was good for me, Sarah. Was it good for you?
Hell yeah. If you loved this
Excellent.
episode, please take a second to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening.
It helps more romance lovers find us, and we really do appreciate it.
So until next time, get a job, guys. I'm kidding. Don't get a job. I'm whatever. Until next time, just appreciate love in all its forms.
And pay attention to your partner. Bye,
Yes.
guys.